My testimony, my story of faith is entitled Just Enough. Wow. There were many times when I was growing up and we were really struggling with poverty. We had very little food to eat. I mean, we had food, but we didn't often have a lot of options. But sometimes we had little food to eat. And I remember our milk running out, and we're going, oh Lord, there's no money to buy more milk. And I remember times where we'd just be walking on the street, and there on the sidewalk would be left some money, like a bunch of coins. And we picked them up and we looked to see if they belonged to someone, but they didn't belong to anyone. They were just left there. So we took them and we had enough. Just enough to buy some milk. Time and time again throughout my life, I've seen God's given just exactly what is needed. He's given just enough. Sometimes I've seen him give plenty and even more than is needed. But often it's just exactly what we need and just enough. I remember when I went to Bible college, my first year was going to go on a missionary trip. I was 19. I had never traveled, never flown on a plane before in my life. And now, at 19, I was planning to go to Europe and travel to many different countries and help share Jesus with a team, a missionary team. Well, there were deadlines. There was time that different amounts of money was due. And it was pretty nerve-wracking because I had to call people and ask them, would you be willing to help give? I wrote letters, and then finally I had to lay on my bed. I was visiting someone's house, and I was laying on the bed, and I was just crying out, what do I do? And I thought, okay, I'm just going to get the phone book for the church, and I'm going to look at their names. I'm just going to call people and see if they can help. So I remember calling people and explaining why I was going to Europe and what we were going to be doing and how we were going to be helping. And I was really scared, but I saw people be very compassionate and answer and help. But then finally there was a last big amount of money that was due, and I came to my hometown in my church area, and I was saying, oh, if I don't get that money in, then I can't go. And I remember it was the day before the flight. If I didn't bring that money with me to the airport, if I didn't get a ride to the airport, I couldn't go. People actually knew I didn't have a suitcase. So some people bought me a suitcase so I could go on the trip. But then I remember my former youth minister, Paul Covert, he drove me up to this big house, and he got out of the car, he went over to the mailbox, he got out this envelope, and he hands it to me, and he said, now I'm going to drive you to the airport. And I opened it up, and it was exactly enough. So many times I've seen the Lord again and again and again and again give just enough. There have been times it looks like, oh Lord, we're empty, we're lacking. But He's faithful, and He provides. I want to challenge you to trust Him and know that He will always give you what you really need. And sometimes you'll see that it's just enough. Just enough. I remember also when I was getting ready to go to Bible college, I didn't know how. How am I going to be able to go? Because I didn't have the money. I couldn't afford to go. My family was poor. Yes, I was able to get a grant, but that wasn't enough for me to stay in the dorms and to live and to pay the tuition and everything. was very interesting. I had just graduated 1 year early, you remember? And because of that, my home church was willing to say, if you go to Bible college and you keep going until you graduate, you don't stop, you don't quit for a semester, then we are willing to continue the program of pay your full tuition. So I joined Bible college that semester, and I kept on for 6.5 years. But what was really interesting was that that very next semester, that church made a policy, they made a decision that they would take students that wanted to go to Bible college and they'd pay 25% of their tuition and then increase it, increase it, increase it. If I had not graduated early, then I would not have been able to get the full tuition that I received at that exact right time. God, His timing is perfect. His provision is perfect. I challenge you. I challenge myself to remember, trust Him, because what He gives is always enough.